a salmon and broccoli quiche. So again, thinking about maybe food waste, things that you've maybe got that you need to use up, or maybe you don't, maybe you need to go and buy the ingredients. Either way, it works really, really well. So when you're making quiche, it's another really good way of using up anything that you might have in the cupboard and in the fridge that you think actually that could be put into a quiche. Another way of using up food waste. So when you look at a recipe, it'll often tell you that you need to have certain ingredients. If you Google a broccoli and salmon quiche, you'll have all sorts of things that will come up, and I'm just not going to make it like that. So for me, I just think adding vegetables, adding colour, adding stuff is a really great way. And sometimes you'll find that it works, and sometimes you find it doesn't. But it doesn't matter, because whatever you're going to do, it's still going to taste absolutely yummy. So I'm going to add an onion, which I think most quiches probably have, but I'm also going to add a red pepper. So I think that's just going to add a little bit of extra vitamins, a little bit of colour. Otherwise, I just think it might be a little bit bland, and I like having something a little bit extra in it. So if we just get this going. So we just literally cut up our onion quickly. So I'm not doing it the right way, but never mind. It's so if we just get this going. So we're just literally going to cut this up quite small, our onion. And we're just going to fry this really quickly. Okay. One day I will do the onion properly for you. Okay. Right. So we just. Just get my eyes going. Onions always get people's eyes. Okay, so doesn't matter. Okay, so however you cut up the onions, it doesn't matter. Okay, really, who cares? So let's get our cooker going a little bit. All my eyes are going. Okay, I don't think you can see that. I'll pull that over in a minute. Okay, so we're just going to put a tiny bit of oil, a little bit of rapeseed oil. Just going to put that about a tablespoon. I'm going to fry that off. I'll show you in 2 minutes. Okay, then also, my eyes, we're going to cut up our pepper, and again, we're just going to cut this up however, and it's going to be quite small. So you don't need these bits, okay? These bits are not very nice, so try and cut around them, and you definitely don't want the seeds, okay? So everyone cuts their peppers in different ways. Some people cut around the top, some people like I did. However you do it, it really doesn't matter. Just ideally you want to be left with the insides that you really don't want. Okay, and then again, if we just cut these up quite small, again, it doesn't matter how you do. I'm just going it quickly today so you don't get bored, but if you take more time, obviously you could cut them into perfect little sizes. But again, it doesn't matter. So my onions are starting to sizzle. Let me just turn those down a little bit. Okay. So I'm just going to cut these small. And of course, remember, when you're making a quiche, really, you want things to be, especially things like the peppers, quite small. You don't want big bits in your quiche. But then again, you don't want them too small, because you want them to be noticeable, unless maybe you're cooking for children or people who really don't like any vegetables and you want them to disappear. Otherwise, you want them to show a little bit, just have that little bit of colour. Okay, so let me just cut this, and then what I'm going to do, just because I'm just going to show you with my knife, I'm literally going to cut round it. Okay, I've got a bit bored of cutting like that, and then if I use my whole knife, I can just cut like this using all the knife, and then that cuts it really small and makes my life much easier. Okay, so if I just do that, I'm cutting them small, and you see it's amazing actually. People often wonder about hydration and water, but if you actually look at something like a pepper, how much liquid is coming out, it's really important. Really, another way, a really good way to get hydration is by eating vegetables, because this is, again, peppers are full of water. So another top tip. Okay, so let's put my peppers in, and I will show you. So this is just like cooking here at the moment. So I'm just going to let that cook down for a moment on my cooker, and that's just going to cook away at the moment. Okay, so my peppers I've got left over, I can use for something else. Now they're cut, they can be in the fridge, and I can use them for another dish another day. That will be absolutely fine. So I just put those to one side. Okay, so I just tidy up my workspace. Okay, so I've got it. It's cold today, isn't it? Just like thinking it's the first time I cooked with a jumper on, so it must be it must be really chilly. I think someone said in Aberdeen it was like -20 last night or something horrendous. So I hope you're all keeping warm in this cold weather. So, making pastry. Okay, so I think we've made pastry before. I can't remember. It's definitely on some of my other YouTube videos. Making pastry. I think everyone balks a bit about making pastry, but actually it is so easy. So short crust pastry. So in here we have got 200 grams of plain flour, and we have 100 grams of butter. So literally all we're going to do is going to get our fingers. If you've got a food processor, put it in there, it works a treat. I'm just going to show you how to do it by hand. Okay, so literally we're going to get our fingers, and literally we're going to put our fingers in here, and we're going to make it like breadcrumbs. So if you've got children, brilliant, let them get involved, absolutely brilliant. They would love making the pastry. So again, let's just put it in, make it like breadcrumbs. Okay. So when you make your pastry, you can just make it exactly like this, or if you wanted to, you could add a bit of flavourings to it. So I thought today we might add a little mustard to our pastry, just to make it a little bit different. Not too much, you don't want to be overpowering, but just a tiny bit. Like for instance, if you're making lemon meringue pie, I made one the other day and I added some lemon rind to my pastry. And although you couldn't taste it all the way, I'm sure the taste was there and it just gave it an extra something. So again, don't be afraid of experimenting and trying something different. So look, here we go. This is our breadcrumbs. Well, I like breadcrumbs. And again, if we take all the mixture off our hands, I'm sure your hands are very clean, you can add cold water. Now it's really difficult to tell you how much cold water because it's all different, but you'll see as you add it. Okay, and then we're going to pull the mixture together. So while we're just doing that, we're just going to add, let me just wash my hands, we're just going to add a little bit of our pepper, our mustard. Okay, so that was just going to add a little bit of, a tiny bit of mustard. Okay, tiny bit of mustard, or maybe a tiny bit more. Be brave. Otherwise, if you don't add enough, you can't taste it, and you add too much, it's overbearing. So just a little bit, and I'm going to add a little tiny bit of salt as well. Okay, just a little bit. You don't need an awful lot. Okay, and let's get that. So actually, you can see that it needs a little bit more. It's coming together. You can see that. But you need a little bit more, tiny little bit more water. Okay, and that's going to pull together. So, turn that off a bit. So, ideally, we want to put this in the fridge. Pastry loves to be rested, but if you haven't got time to rest it, so we're not going to have time today, then that's absolutely fine as well. It really doesn't matter. Okay, so this is our pastry. So again, it might be a tiny bit wet, it's fine, it's great to show you how it doesn't always go right. So, but if we just put that together for a minute, this is our pastry. See how easy that was? It took seconds to make. Really easy peasy, okay? So you can buy it, no harm in buying it at all, but if you do make it yourself, then just think how easy that was to make. You could freeze it, you could, you know, again, like you say, get the children to get involved. Get anyone involved really. I think people would really enjoy getting their hands and make it, knowing that you've made it yourself. Okay, so put that to one side. So I just then bring over my cooker. Okay, my hands are dirty again. Okay. So our onions and our peppers, can you see, are frying really nicely. So again, we'll just let those go. Okay, so while that's going, let's just have a look at our pastry, what we're going to do. So ideally we're going to take a quiche dish. If you haven't got a quiche dish, it's fine. You can use a cake tin, you could use a pie flan, you could use anything, it really doesn't matter. You just need to have something basically that you could layer and then put ingredients in the middle of. That's all you really need. And actually I even picked up one of these at a charity shop. I know they're not open at the moment, but don't feel that if you need one, then go and have a look. Be amazed what you can pick up. Okay, so remember when you roll out your pastry, it's going to stick, okay? And there's nothing more infuriating than rolling out your pastry and then not being able to pick it up. It's just like, so let's make sure then we have flour on our work surface. Okay. And then we're going to take our pastry. So like I said, it's a tiny bit wet, but that doesn't matter. So we're going to scoop it out of our bowl. And literally we're going to take it, you see that? And we're rolling it, maybe I need to go this way. And we roll it in the flour, okay? Then if you want to, pastry doesn't need to be touched that much, but you can give it a little bit of a knead. And there, look, perfect pastry, right? Looks really good. If it's going to roll out and all, let's have another go. Okay, so we're going to take our rolling pin and we're going to cover that with flour, okay? Because by covering it with flour, hopefully it means it's not going to stick. Okay. So we're going to take our rolling pin and we're going to roll it, and then we're going to pick it up. We're going to move the flour around and we're going to put it over the other way, because by moving it around, hopefully that means it's not going to stick, okay? It's famous last words, and if it falls apart, you can stick it in the dish, that's absolutely fine. But what you don't want to do, you ideally don't want to stick. So you can just check all the time that it's not sticking, okay? And then you take your dish and you go, how big do I need it to be? So you can kind of place it over and go, oh, okay, well that's almost there. So then if we roll it a little bit more, we can just see, okay? Okay, so let's give this a go. Let's crease fingers and I hope it works. And just give my onions and peppers a stir. They're doing nicely. You see that? They're cooking nicely. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to use my rolling pin. I'm going to take it over my rolling pin and I'm going to pick my pastry up, okay, like this. And literally then I'm going to roll, take that, and I'm going to roll it over my dish. Okay, actually it's not too bad. Give it a little bit of a pull. Okay, so top tip with pastry is pastry likes to shrink, okay, when it cooks, which can be a bit frustrating, but it doesn't matter. But a top tip is to really, if you take your pastry and you let it fall into the dish, okay, so you're ideally wanting it to go, so let it fall and allow it, okay, and then just press it down, okay, and then you're going to press it into place. So I'm a bit low on one of my sides here, which is absolutely fine. So I'm going to take a bit of my pastry from another side and I'm going to pinch it and I'm going to put it over that side because that's where I want it. Okay. So we're going to now bake it blind, because baking it blind basically means you're baking it without anything in it, because you want the pastry to cook. Okay, that's ideally what you want it to do. And then when you put everything else for the quiche, that it's not going to go soggy. That's why you bake it. So when you're cooking your pastry, if you had maybe some baking beans, or I sometimes use a bit of bread, you can use it on top, and that will maybe stop it shrinking. Or otherwise, what I often do, I haven't really got enough now, if you've got some pastry that falls over the top, that works really well because the weighty bit stops it shrinking, and it also means you've got a bit of extra pastry to eat when it comes out, which is rather nice. So as I haven't got much, I'm going to put it in anyway, and I'm hoping it's not going to shrink too much, okay? But if it does, then that's it, okay? So I'm just going to put it in the oven, a high temperature, 6-7 for about 10 minutes, okay? Okay, so we'll just tidy up all my mess. Something about cooking is always a mess, but if always taught, always have a clean, tidy work surface, really important. Tidy up as you go along, it makes your work so much easier. Okay. Let's just do that. Okay. Right. Okay. So let's go back to our filling. Okay. So what we have here, we have. Let me show you. We have our. Oh, I've got rid of my spoon. We have our peppers and our onions, which are going really nicely. And to that, if you wanted to, you could add a bit of garlic. I don't think I'm going to add garlic, so I'm not sure I want it to go with my salmon, so I'm just going to leave it as it is. But and this I think is done perfectly. The onions have softened, the peppers have softened. I think I might take that. Okay, so let's just turn that off, and I think that's absolutely fine. Okay, so we'll put that to one side. Okay, so salmon. I had some salmon. I bought 4 pieces the other day. I'd used 2. I was thinking, oh, I need to use 2 or whatever. You can do so much with salmon. But I thought actually making a quiche is a really nice thing to have. You can have it hot, you can have it cold, you can have it with broccoli, you could have it with peas, you could have it really, like I said earlier, have it with anything. So I've literally poached this salmon in the oven. I put it in some foil, and I put a little bit of lemon juice on it. I put a bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and I baked it in the oven for about 15 minutes, and it's cooked perfectly. So this in itself, you could eat now. You could eat it on its own, you could eat it with a bit of mayonnaise, you could make it in a risotto. I mean, it's just perfect. You could do so much with it when it's cooked. So it's just flaked a bit, so that's fine. That's what you want. We want it to be flaked up, and we're going to use that for our quiche. So broccoli. Now broccoli I think is really interesting. Let me just remember, if you get a tea towel and you put it underneath your work surface, it stops it sliding, which is a good hint. So broccoli. So many people with broccoli, they just boil it, and I don't think there's anything worse than boiled broccoli. I just think it's just, anyway, no way to put anyone off eating broccoli. Steaming broccoli is lovely, but what we found recently is if you roast broccoli. So this has been roasted at the same time the salmon for about 10 minutes, something like that, and it just takes on a really yummy taste. So I just broke it up before I put it in. What I'm going to do, I think I'm just going to cut it up, so it's going to be, and you can use the stalks as well. The stalks are absolutely fine. So again, let's just cut the broccoli up. So if you wanted to be really artistic, you could save some top bits like this bit, and you could just put them over the top, and that would look really nice. Or again, you could just cut them up small and just use that to add to your quiche. So you might say, this is a whole broccoli, so you might say actually a whole broccoli is too much. I think it might be a bit overpowering. So if it is, you could use some of the broccoli you've got left over and the salmon, and that again you could maybe throw into risotto. Again, that would be absolutely wonderful. Or you could just eat it as it is, really yummy. Or you could put this in a soup. And I don't know if you've seen my other video on YouTube, but it's roasted cauliflower and broccoli soup, and I tell you, it's really nice. So again, roasted broccoli is great, and if you've always got too much or left over of anything, then just bung it in a soup. But you can't beat putting everything in a soup, it's just brilliant. So if we just add few bits more. I think when we put it together, we'll see how much we need. I might just do a little bit more. Okay, so let's just see how we're going to go with that. Okie doke. Right. So we're going to use some oat milk because that's what we drink in this house, oat milk. But if you want to use cow's milk, or you've got almond milk or soy milk, it all works. It's absolutely fine. If you want to use a bit of double cream, that's perfect too. That works. So we're going to put in about 10 fluid ounces. And which is about 300 mils, yeah, about 300, okay. And to that, we're going to add 3 eggs. There's quite a few difference about people who add different amount of eggs. Some people add 6, seems a lot to me, but I think 3 will work fine. And also people have discrepancy about where they keep the eggs. We keep our eggs outside, not outside, I mean outside the fridge. We keep them in the kitchen in a little egg thing, and they work perfectly. Some people like to keep them in the fridge. I sometimes think if eggs are in the fridge, they can be a bit cold sometimes when you come to use them, but it's fine, they work perfectly. So if we just crack our eggs into our milk, okay, just like that. Okay, so we've got 3 eggs. Just put them in place. And then to that, we're just going to add a little bit of flavour. So I'm just going to add a few mixed herbs. I haven't got any dill. I think if you did have dill, salmon and dill go really nicely together. That could be definitely something you could add. But mixed herbs are going to be yummy. Okay, so we just add, that's probably about half a teaspoon. And then again, we add a tiny bit of black pepper. And we'll add a little bit of salt, just a little bit, okay? Again, about 1/4 teaspoon or something. And then we're going to give that a big stir. Okay. And then to that, what I'm going to add, because again, we don't eat cheese. If you were wanting cheese, then you could add some cheese. Cream cheese probably go really nicely with this, I presume. You often have, don't you, salmon and cheese? I think that would go nicely. Or maybe a little bit of parmesan. So I'm going to add some yeast flakes, okay? Because I just think that might just give a little bit of extra something. So I'm just going to add a little selection of those. And again, give that a stir. Okay, so let's see if our quiche is ready, shall we? Shall you have a look? Pastry? No, not quite. Turn it up. Okay, it's got about two minutes to go, which is a real shame, but I can take it anyway. Let me just tidy up while I'm waiting. And this is the time you're doing a workshop. You go, oh, come on, guys, talk to me. Have you got anything to say? And we could discuss something, like give you a few hints and tips. But of course, it'd be nice if people, if you were watching, if you wanted to comment, that'd be really good. Or if you had, if you're watching it on YouTube afterwards and you want to comment, please do. And then I can always take your comments and I can feed back to you next time. It'd be really good. But, you know, it's often you have these lulls when you're cooking and you're waiting for something, and it'd be really good to actually be able to feed back to people about if they've got any questions or they'd like to know anything in particular. That'd be a really good opportunity to actually showcase or to talk to you. That'd be really good. So it's anyway, let me get, I'm sure it's done enough. It doesn't have to be perfect, and I'll just show you, and then we're just going to put it all together. Okay, so here's our pastry case, okay? So it's more or less done. Maybe, you know, if I wasn't live streaming today, I might leave it a little bit more. but it'll be fine. The little dots you've got in it, they're for the mustard. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add our vegetables. So we've got our peppers and onions. And we're just going to spread those over our base. You can see that. Let me show you that. So that's literally coming over our base like that. Okay. And then to that we're going to add our salmon. And salmon is such a good fish to eat. You can actually see that that it's quite oily. So salmon is a really good oily fish to eat. It's full of your omegas. It's just try and eat salmon if you can, or an oily fish twice a week. Really, really good for you. Actually, let's try and get everything out there. Okay. So, and then we're going to put the broccoli. Okay. So we have the broccoli on top. Oh, I did the wrong one, didn't I? How funny after me cutting it. There you go. That's always typical, isn't it? When you're doing something, you always do it wrong. Okay, so let me just. I'm now going to throw all of that on there. There you go. Look, all of it's on top. Okay. So if you wanted to, you could be artistic. But I think that's going to look absolutely fabulous. Okay, so then we're just going to take our mixture and we're literally going to pour that on top. Okay, so you can just use a fork if you want to, just ease it on a little bit. Make sure you give it a stir as you're going along. Make sure you get all the egg, because obviously the egg is what's going to set your mixture. Okay. Okay, there you go. So that is your quiche. So how easy was that? Easy peasy. Can I just show you without it all falling off? Just try and lift it up. Okay. So that is our quiche. So I'm then going to go and put that in the oven, and I'm going to cook that for about maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, maybe even 40 minutes. Oh, my cooker's really quick, it's a fan oven. So mine will probably be done in something like 20 minutes. But I know some ovens take longer and could be up to 40 minutes. And you'll know when it's cooked, it will spun, it will come up, it will be really, really nicely set. So anyway, I really hope you've enjoyed watching me today. Really hope you go away and make your quiche, and do let me know what you cooked. I always love to hear what people are cooking and how you get on and what flavours you use in yours. We're back again tomorrow. I'm going to cook turkey meatballs tomorrow. Anyway, so see you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.